Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Quacksilver and Mathulu, here to give you a Hollow Knight race unlike any you've seen before. Runners, please take it away.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hi, I'm Quacksilver. I'm joined by Mathulu, and we're going to be racing a very special category for you all today. That being Purity versus Happy Couple, deciding the fate of the Nailsmith.
Yes, I'm very excited. We are racing for the life of this one lovely, lovely man, Ronnie Joe. We are going to do our best, collectively, me and chat, not Quack, to save his life, while the evil Quacksilver plays on the left-hand side of your screen is going to do everything she can to end it.
Cool. I think we could talk a little bit more about the niceties of what makes this run and race the way it is once we get started. So, Math, you want to count us down for the race?
Sure thing. I'm here on the difficulty select screen. Let's start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck, Math.
And just to be sure, Quack, you did choose Steel Soul, right?
Yeah, no, I love permadeath in my... Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Good.
I was so close. Every time we do these runs. No, so while Math and I get through the tutorial area here, I'll just say a little bit. Purity and Happy Couple are basically the same exact run. If you're familiar with the Nailsmith from your casual playthrough of Hollow Knight, this is the NPC that upgrades your weapon. And once you fully upgrade your weapon, there are two possible endings to his storyline. He asks you to strike him down once you have fully upgraded your nail, and if you do that, you get an achievement called Purity. And if you don't do that, if you run away from the Nailsmith's ultimate and faster fate, he wanders the world and finds true love or whatever, and that's a separate achievement.
Yes, so the Nailsmith, when you've upgraded your nail fully, he feels he's completed his life's purpose, thinks that there's nothing more for him to do, and just wants to feel his life's work come to fruition through one final blow with the pure nail, the best weapon he's ever created. But if you save his life, he goes on to find that there's more to life than just weaponsmithing. And in fact, he can find true love in an artist who's also given up the violent life that he's led. And it's beautiful and perfect. And that's what we're going to get today. Happy Couple.
Yes, so in speedrun terms, Purity and Happy Couple are the exact same speedrun up until the very end of the run after you have fully upgraded the nail. So while Math rushes back to Shio, the Paint Master's hut, to get the Happy Couple ending, I am instead going to set a countdown timer for 100 seconds, or a count-up timer, I suppose, for 100 seconds, and gloat for a little bit about having the faster speedrun, because I am old enough to remember back before the Super Metroid Bid War was save or kill the animals, back when it was save the animals or save the frames, and I know what's important to me. Also, Math, not for nothing, but I got RNG Softfall, so you're going down.
I went for Softfall setup and got Hardfall, so we're thriving, Everything is going absolutely great here.
Perfect.
Yes, and there's quite a few frames. As Quack mentioned, she'll be counting up from 0 to 100. It's about a 100-second difference between the categories. I have to return to Green Path and do a little bit of final platforming on the way to Shio's hut, while Quack can just walk outside the the Nailsmith's hut and finish the run. So to make things equitable, she has to count up to 100 before she's allowed to finish the run, and that makes this race a little bit of a scary finish for me. I've got to make sure that I can make it to Shio before that time runs out.
Yeah, and one of the centerpieces of this run, so we need 6 pale ore. 2 of them are in the overworld sort of randomly, 2 of them are guarded by bosses that are no one's favorite, and 2 of them are in shops of a sort, both requiring some sort of overworld collection. You saw me there rescue the first of 31 grubs we're going to be rescuing, because there is a pale ore at grubs.
Yep, grubs make for a pretty significant portion of the run because of that requirement of 31 for one of our ores. Of course, this run is all about getting the pale ores. There's a number of other things that we do. Colo 2 probably the most terrifying of them. But yeah, also different from maybe some other runs of Hollow Knight you may be used to. We are actually taking the time to kill False Knight here instead of just skipping False Knight, which if you're not familiar with Hollow Knight speedruns is actually something that you can do in a dev-intended manner. We are instead going to kill False Knight because we actually need the City Crest for the route that we're going to be using. It comes with a bit of a bonus of 200 Geo as well, which is nice for our routing.
Yeah, the Geo is very important in this speedrun because in order to fully upgrade the Nail, in addition to the 6 pale ores, you need over 7,000 Geo in total. Back for that.
Yep. Yeah, the 7,000 Geo is quite a large sum, as you can imagine, but luckily, because we do save 31 grubs and also do 2 Colosseums, we get most of it for pretty much free. There's only a little bit of Geo that we need to squeeze in kind of earlier in the run, and the Geo running is actually a little bit tight with this route as well, so we'll have to make sure we're actually getting the amount of Geo that we hope we're getting.
Yeah, you may have seen me dip back there for a 5 Geo piece, because the early game Geo is pretty tight.
Yeah, we're talking plus 10 or even less if you're missing too much. So Quack, where are things with you? Do you have VS yet? Am I already behind? Am I dead in the water?
Are you dead? Oh no. No, I do have VS, and so VS is the fireball spell. It's officially called Vengeful Spirit. You'll probably hear us abbreviate it as VS. And as soon as you get it, the game puts you into this little tutorial area to make sure you know how to use it. But we're speedrunners, so we're going to go above and beyond and perform a trick here that is an early control setup, because there's a charm at the back of this little ancestral mound that we want to get our hands on. So I'm going to set up a boulder at the bottom of this. Ooh.
Yep, and I'm
going
doing
to
my
miss
best
it.
to set up the same thing. Aha! Okay, so the idea here is we use this second boulder that's spit out. Oh no, I didn't get the damage tank. Alright, I cry. I also miss it.
Perfect.
But the idea is we
energy.
use that to hit us out of that little animation that says that we picked up a charm. That happens when you pick up your first charm in the game. In this case, that is Soul Catcher for us. And that skip saves about 4 or 5 seconds if we can get it, but both of us missed it. So we call that equitable, I think.
Yeah, I accidentally hit the little boulder on the way down.
So I got as far as the first damage tank, but then I missed the second damage tank. So, tragic.
And the boulders there have a 1 in 2 chance of spitting a little baby boulder that we need. The knight can hold up to 3 total casts of spells in his soul gauge up at the top left there. It's perfectly 50-50, and of course I'm getting trolled with the second boulder.
Same here. I'm on my 5th spit.
Okay, I'm getting not that trolled.
6, 7, 8, 9 spits, Quack.
Perfect. Boulders
I guess we know where the boulders.
You love
exactly. Oh, absolutely rude. Okay, it's fine. We're thriving. But yes, it's literally 50-50, so getting 9 spits in a row is wildly unlikely, but of course that is marathon luck for you. And
it's not the unluckiest one Mathulu has gotten before.
That is very true. I have a long history of very bad Baldur RNG. This is how you know it's not pre-recorded. But yes, now that we're past that boulder, we're into Green Path, which is, as everyone knows, an extremely consistent and very, very comfortable time in speedruns. Now, it's actually one of the more volatile pieces of the run, but mostly due to execution rather than RNG. We have a couple of these skips here, which you may have seen Quack already do, but I just demonstrated there. That's known as a fireball skip. You turn around in the air and shoot a couple of fireballs. Each one pushes you back slightly. That allows us to skip up to that platform instead of going all the way through Green Path, and it saves quite a bit of time. I missed the second one there, but it's the same thing, but just a much smaller scale, because if you miss it, you just go around in this room. Oh.
And one of the other important properties of fireballs, beyond their air stall, is their ability to double hit. So there I'm going for an AI manip on that Moss Knight, which I did not get, but you can get it to jump back through a fireball, and each hit of the fireball does 15 damage. Your base nail, when it's unupgraded, only does 5, so being able to do 30 to enemies is super useful, and we'll be upgrading the fireball several times throughout this run, because, weirdly enough, in a category all about upgrading the nail, we're going to be doing a lot of spell damage this run.
Yeah, it used to be that we didn't upgrade the nail at all until the very end of the run, but actually now the route does pick up a single nail upgrade early on, but the vast majority of our damage will still come from spells. We do have one additional Moss Knight that we're going to fight, and Quack, I think you're a bit ahead of me, so you've probably already gotten this second grub, but same idea here. We're going to try to get the Moss Knight to jump backward so that we can get a double hit with the fireball. I did get the jump backward, but for some reason didn't get the double hit.
Hey, same exact deal on my end.
Nice.
And then from there we go to open up a stag station. These are fast travel waypoints in this game. Math super extra needs the green path stag because that's where he comes back to at the very end of the run, but even I need it because we're going to get some grubs in green path later once we have more movement. And then we're on to the first real boss of the game. Casual players may remember the difficulty spike of Hornet.
Absolutely. Now, you say first real boss in the game, as if the enemy standing before the False Knight fight isn't the true real first boss of this game. But yes, Hornet is definitely one of the first early walls, and also the star of the upcoming game that will definitely eventually be released, Silksong. We'll see.
Eventually.
I mean, we got Duke Nukem Forever eventually. I'm sure we'll eventually get Silksong.
I have
we can hope.
Tremendous faith. Once Hornet is defeated, she gives us our dash ability, the Mothwing Cloak, which is hugely useful. And also, if you're not familiar with this game, save and quits take you back to your most recent bench, which, since we equipped Soulcatcher at the Ancestral Mound, that is where I respawn there after the save and quit, which is nice, because it's nice and central as we move on to the wall jump ability.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And in between that is a very movement-heavy segment. We're going through fungal wastes. There's really nothing that we need to kill, but there are a couple of relatively major skips, the first of which Quack is probably already performing based on the lead she probably has over me, but it is known as Explosion Pogo, and I'm sure you'll be seeing it very, very shortly.
You are way too kind to me. And you know,
Yeah,
I love the
teasing.
energy. I did, however, get the double Cetic Slash, which we love to see. So as you fall through that room, that nail knockback on platforms there is actually intentional to avoid me taking any hard falls in that room. It's one of the coolest strats in all of Hollow Knight, in my opinion.
Yep, and you will see me here not go for it at all because I am bad at it. So instead, I am simply landing on platforms and not dunking in acid.
That's good. That's really half the battle.
It's true. But yes, coming up will be Explosion Pogo. The idea of this trick is we want to take an alternate route into Mantis Village. This route saves something like 30 to 40 seconds. But in order to do it, we need to actually bait out a projectile from the Spore, which I'll be showing here in a second, and Quack is probably showing right now. It used to be possible to actually pogo the explosion itself, but now we need to pogo the projectile instead. So we have to develop this other method of waiting in the air using those fireballs in order to allow the projectile to drop far enough for us to pogo it.
Yeah, and then after that in the following room, it is another AI lure on those flying mantises to be able to pogo them up to the actual pickup, the Mantis Claw, our wall jump, which truly opens up the map. Once you have wall jump, you can do most things in Hollow Knight.
Yes, there's a reason that it's rushed in basically every speedrun that's allowed to pick it up. It is very, very, very useful for general movement, and of course for access to where we need to go next, which is actually going to be the somewhat intended route into the City of Tears. We do have a slight detour for a grub along the way. Like we've mentioned, there are 31 of these that we need to save. There are 46 total grubs in the game, but but the pale ore is the reward for picking up 31 of them. So we do just need to save the majority of them rather than literally all. Okay, we're on 1 health. Let's not die.
Hey, Math, don't die.
I'll do my best, Quack.
Yes, and as Math alluded to earlier, this is where the Purity Happy Couple route actually relatively recently was updated, because we now go visit the Nailsmith early and get a single nail upgrade, which will bring our damage on the nail from 5 to 9. We used to not do this because it's out of the way, and we will obviously be coming back at the end of the run to fully upgrade the nail. But there's a curious thing where none of the bosses in this route, but some of the bosses in Hollow Knight as a whole, scale with the number of nail upgrades you have. And so in most speedrun categories, it is actively inefficient to upgrade your nail because spells do so much damage so much earlier that all you're doing is compromising their effectiveness. But in specifically the Nailsmith category, which we are consider to be a bit of a blessing, there are no bosses that outscale your nail upgrades, so we get this for just a nice damage buff for pretty much every boss we're going to fight from here on out.
Yep, and there are a lot of bosses that we're going to fight in this run. This run is actually quite boss heavy. Now, we do actually need 300 essence. The main bosses that scale with your nail in this game are the Dream Warriors, the ghosts, which give essence when you kill them. If we needed more essence, it's likely that we would actually not be getting this nail upgrade. But with only 300 required for the for the Pale Ore from the Seer, we actually can pick up this nail 1 and instead fight one of the Dream Warriors, in this case Lostkin, who do not scale with your nail damage. So it's actually very convenient. The route just happened to work out like this, and it allows us to get nail 1, which is pretty unusual for Hollow Knight speedruns.
Yeah, it's very rare to get early nail upgrades. Either you get none of them or you get them all at the very end of the run. Here I'm visiting the shopkeeper relic dealer Lem to hand off a Helena seal that I got earlier. Lem just gives us a quick cash infusion. We'll be visiting him one more time at the tail end of the run to be our final econ to afford the last nail upgrades.
Yep, Lem is a pretty central figure in most Hollow Knight speedruns because of the quick way to collect Geo, and this run is no exception. But yeah, luckily it's kind of surprising in a run where we need literally over 7,000 Geo just for the nail upgrades that we don't need more trips to Lem. But as it turns out, Grubs gives a lot of Geo, so we're kind of lucky in that regard. Hollow as well.
Yeah, we get something like 5,000 of the 7,000 we need from stops we were already gonna make.
Yep. Yeah, and we get some free relics as well from the grubs and the essence too. So it's really just, it's kind of amusing, honestly, that the game basically hands us all the money we need.
With that, it's time for everyone's favorite random number generation check, Soul Sanctum. With all of these fun airborne teleporting enemies that have never cost runs, not even once.
No, I don't think anyone's lost a run to Soul Sanctum. Oops. All right. Yeah, Soul Sanctum is the bane of a lot of different Hollow Knight categories, but this one is ever so slightly better than usual because we do have that singular nail upgrade. Unfortunately, the nail upgrade does not stop these twisters from spawning directly in our path, although they're behaving quite nicely for me at the moment. But the nail upgrade does help with these two fights that we do in Soul Sanctum, namely this Soul Warrior here and the boss of Soul Sanctum, the Soul Master. So it's a little better than usual, which is not saying much.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the full completion categories like 112%, they do this fight under the effect of Fury of the Fallen. So they have the same nail damage that we do here, but at the cost of needing to be at 1 HP the entire time.
Yep.
So it's a little bit more convenient. There you also saw me do another early control against the Soul Master, who is being incredibly rude to me.
Okay, we are through the worst of the rooms. That is always a terrible room to go through. And now I'll be doing the Soul Master fight a little bit behind Quack here, not too much of a delay at least.
Is it good for me to chime in with a couple of donations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. We have two $20 donations that have come in since the start of the run. First is from Mika with the message, as it loads slowly. Hey, Math and Quack, good luck, have fun, be gay, do crime. Thank you for that donation, Mika. Additionally, we have a donation, $20 again, from Cindy. Donation is being slow. Go, Mr. Hulu and Ms. Silver, save the happy couple. And Cindy has also marked their donation for the upgrade to hard difficulty incentive that we currently have running for the Trifox run at the end of the marathon. So please do get some donations in. We're $130 off achieving that particular incentive. Because what's better than going fast than making it even more challenging?
That sounds like a wonderful incentive. Definitely get your donations in for that if you can.
Thank you so much. After having picked up the Desolate Dive ability, we're chiefly going to use it to be kind of bad at its intended purpose. You saw there, by setting up a Desolate Dive on the edge of a floor, you can get a fake dive where you break the floor but don't actually drop through it, which is necessary to quickly save the grub that's at the back of Soul Sanctum there.
Yep. That is one of the fun little features of diving. So normally what happens if you dive through that floor entirely is you have to go all the way back around to pick up the grub. We don't want to do that. So instead we do this little fake dive where you break the floor but don't fall through it, and then we can save that grub nice and quick. All right, so coming up out of here is going to be one of the more annoying rooms in this part of the run as well. It is a room that's not as bad in this run as it is in others, but it's a room filled with several flying enemies, some of whom throw spears at you, and they can get just directly in your path. It's a good time.
I got sniped.
The Ravas are doing their best to bring us even again.
Yeah, and unfortunately, for the routing implications of this and about a dozen other speedruns, picking up Desolate Dive hard saves you, so we have to walk all the way out of Soul Sanctum and find the Stag Station there in City Storerooms, because we can't simply save quit out of the pickup, or out of rescuing the grub there.
Yep. I should also mention, you might be wondering why we pick up Desolate Dive. It's actually not strictly speaking required for this category, but Dive actually does several things for us. First of all, it gives us access to Crystal Peak, which is where we're heading now. But it also gives us access to a ton of grubs. Crystal Peak alone has 7 different grubs in it, but there are 6 total dive-locked grubs in the game, and we save, I believe, 3 of them in this route. Dropped a jump there, that's fine. So dive actually ends up being faster even though we have to go through Soul Sanctum to do it, mostly for our Crystal Peak access, but the addition of the extra grubs we're able to get really speeds things along.
Yeah, the alternate way to get into Crystal Peak is with an item called the Lumafly Lantern that is sold for a whopping 1,800 Geo, and this run is already so hungry for Geo that being able to go Geo positive in your Crystal Peak access rather than Geo negative is a huge sales point for Dive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Soul Sanctum, not only does it not take 1800 Geo, it also hands you basically 600 Geo for free. So we really take that swing.
All right, there I ill-advisedly went for a trick called Pogax.
I have my chance now, Quack.
You have your chance. I got Miner RNG'd.
Unfortunate.
Where the miner just decided to sort of wobble back and forth there instead of throwing an axe for me to pogo, and I couldn't back it up.
I missed it. The miner threw the axe quicker than I was expecting, but so it goes. Oops. All right. Well, we both missed Pogax, so it's all fair.
Fair and balanced.
But yeah, this is pretty much a normal Crystal Peak, except we will be saving literally every single grub here. Crystal Peak is the most grub dense area in the game, and we will be taking advantage of that on our quest for 31. We'll be picking some of them up now and some of them up later on when we actually revisit Crystal Peak in order to pick up the Crown and Pale Ore. We'll see that basically at the end of the run. It's almost literally at the very end. So it'll be a while. Just keep it in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and that is because the reason we do Crystal Peak in 2 trips is because we will be picking up the double jump ability much later, and the top part of Crystal Peak, the Hallownest Crown, is just way easier and faster to navigate with wings than without it.
Yep, absolutely.
Alright. No sweat. Got through the most morally required trick in the run. I may be the villain of this story, but I will still go for Underplat, the trick where you go underneath the platform at the end of that Crystal Peak gauntlet. It saves almost no time and is ethically required.
Yep, that is probably the most important trick in Hollow Knight speedrunning history. When Summoning Salt makes the video, that is going to be a full segment of it, at least 20 minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, the discovery, the history, notable users.
Yeah. Alright,
so I got good Glimback
behind you, it seems.
I got good Glimback RNG and then didn't cancel the C dash in time anyway.
Beautiful.
That little crawly boy there can spawn in walking in one of 2 directions, and we want him walking away from us both as we enter and exit the room. I am 2 for 2.
Nice. Yeah, that Glimback can be just close to you or far away. I got the good RNG the first time. We'll see how it behaves on the return. It can be frustrating. It's literally 50-50 each time, and you can just get unlucky with it. Only saves a couple of seconds to get the good RNG, luckily. Ooh, double good RNG. Okay, so I believe that we've discovered that Balders are homophobic, but Glimbacks say gay rights.
I mean, it's parody for us still, so we don't know yet.
Oh, that's true, yeah. I forgot that it was a C- mishap. All right, so this here is a dark room. Probably Quack has already gone through it. Normally, the game expects you to have the Lumafly lantern when you're going through this room. As we mentioned earlier, that costs a lot of money, so we don't pay for it. Instead, we do this room in the dark. It's not as hard as it looks, but it's definitely far from easy. So that was a pretty clean dark room on my end,
nice.
At least.
Gonna make sure I count to 7 correctly. Coming up here, I am luring that bug friend up over the lip of that area so that I can take damage out of the descending dark pickup, so that we can get early control. It saves a fair bit of time because that pickup is long.
Yeah, this is, even with the setup, something like 10 seconds of time save. I needed another hit, which might screw up. Come on, Buggy. Come on! Thank you. Okay. It followed me all the way down, but then didn't want to hit me for a while. Okay.
Sometimes Buggy's just a little shy.
One thing I haven't talked about at all is inventory dropping. throughout the run, and actually quite a few different places in this run in particular, we're going to be trying to do inventory drops as we drop off of ledges. That's why you may see the inventory open as we walk off of a ledge. What it does is it uncaps our fall speed. On earlier patches of the game, you could just open your inventory mid-air, and this was very easy. On the latest patch, which is what we're running on, you can no longer do that. We actually have to open our inventory the physics frame that we walk off the ledge. So it's a 1 in 50th of a second of a trick. It's very tight, but it saves a significant amount of time in a number of places. So you'll see us going for it throughout the run.
Yep. And here with the pickup of a Dream Nail, as Math mentioned, we need this item in order to get some essence for one of the pale ore coming down the line. And then immediately after it, we're going to perform a trick called See or Skip. Mm-hmm. Did you see her? I make that joke every time on the mic, and it never gets any less funny. I will not apologize for my behavior.
It's hard to go further down than 0, to be fair, Quack.
I'm playing the villain tonight.
Speaking of playing the villain, we've got a $5 donation from Nix.
So there's
with a comment that's loading. Good luck, Quack and Math, but mainly Quack, who is running the objectively better and faster speedrun. I don't make the rules.
Let's go.
And don't forget, when you're making your donation, hit that button to add your donation to an incentive. I've mentioned the Trifox incentive, but we also have a bid war going on currently to decide the colours in the Stonefly speedrun.
Alright, so coming up here, I am grabbing far and away the most important charm in all of Hollow Knight. This is the Shaman Stone. It's going to increase both the damage of all of my spells, as well as the size of Vengeful Spirit's hitbox, which is massive, because it makes double hits even more likely. And when we upgrade our Vengeful Spirit into its upgraded form, Shade Soul, in just a little bit here, I'm not going to forget to rescue Sly, we will be capable of doing as much as 80 damage in a single cast, which is more damage than our nail could ever hope to put out in a comparable amount of time.
Yeah, upgraded spells with Shaman Stone are just sort of unbelievably good in Hollow Knight. Even full completion categories that max their nail entirely still rely heavily on this charm, and we will be doing the same. So even though we do get a singular nail upgrade, this is where spell damage is really going to start to take over for us. You may have noticed us pick up the Descending Dark ability earlier. That is the upgraded version of Desolate Dive. That already does a lot of damage, but with Shaman Stone equipped, it'll be even more. And then, as Quack mentioned, once we pick up Shade Soul, that number can rise all the way up to 80 with a double hit with Shaman Stone equipped. So now that we've got it, we're going to equip it as soon as we have the opportunity. And hopefully I said that late enough that Quack has already forgotten.
I was going to say, neither of us has ever been guilty of forgetting to equip Shaman Stone and not realizing it until like 3 bosses later. Why
Absolutely
are my fireballs doing damage?
Certainly, I've never accidentally made it all the way to Nosk without equipping Shaman Stone before. That would never happen.
So coming up here is the second Soul Warrior. We fought one inside Soul Sanctum, but there's another one with about twice as much health and constantly spawning ads who guards the Shade Soul pickup, who is currently bullying me. Wow.
Yes, yeah. This is the boss that guards our upgraded spell, and it is a bit out of the way, but Shade Soul is so good that it's still worth picking this up, despite the fact that it costs effectively 800 Geo to do so, and the fact that it is fairly out of the way of the route we are otherwise taking. Yeah, so our main damage on this boss is going to be from Descending Dark, because we don't have Shade Soul yet, but after this, Shade Soul will start to take the front seat.
And following the Shade Soul pickup, we have this immense movement split where we're basically moving from Dirtmouth at the top of the map all the way down towards the bottom of the map, just rescuing a ton of grubs on the way. This is probably my favorite split in the run. It's a solid contender for sure. Because it's
this is pretty good. Yeah, lots and lots of movement, lots and lots of grubs to go save. Basically, we get any grub that's remotely on the path between here and Nosk. And it's a good time.
It's just a shame that it has to end with Nosk.
It's true.
You're kidding me. Okay, I avoided getting... There is a glitch in the game where when your C-Dash connects with an enemy, where your hurt box takes priority over your hitbox incorrectly, and you get hit out of your C-Dash, which is incredibly frustrating. I managed to avoid that and then just dunked in the acid. So we're doing okay.
No.
We're doing fine.
Yeah. Now this first room after the acid skip has this very satisfying drop through it. That is a bit tricky, but we did manage to land it. Honestly, all of the movement in this segment is very satisfying to start to get right. It's a long movement segment. You save a lot of grubs. What's not to love?
Yeah, making a brief revisit to the fungal wastes here, only insofar as it's our access to Deep Nest. And also there are some grubs, as of yet, unrescued.
Yeah, we really do rescue just about every grub in the areas that we visit. The grubs that we skip are mostly from areas that we don't go to at all, like the left side of Deep Nest or Queen's Gardens, with only a couple of exceptions. So if you're a grub lover, this run is perfect for you.
It's almost as good as the speedrun simply dedicated to the concept.
True. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between this run and the run that saves all the grubs, as you might imagine. But of course, who doesn't love adding Nosk and Colo 2 into your speedruns?
Yeah, I was about to say, one of the biggest points of difference is this boss that Math and I have been already ragging on for half an hour here, and that's because Nosk sucks. We do not like him very much. The reason Nosk sucks, actually before I get to that, in this room I am going to go for the fact that opening your inventory as you get struck by an enemy cancels the knockback from it, so with 2 damage tanks there, you can skip a cycle in the Scarpede room. That was neat. I'm glad I was still at 3 health and so could show it off, because if you try that trick at 2 health, bad things happen.
And I believe we both know exactly how that goes, because turns out sometimes we're not good at keeping track of how much health we have. But yeah, there was that trick as well on my end. A little bit of time saved there. It's pretty satisfying to be able to get that double damage tank. There's one other place that we're going to use it coming up in a little bit as well, but we do have Nosk first.
So the reason Nosk sucks so much that we had to forecast its sucking is because one of Nosk's attacks, one of Nosk's 2, maybe 3 attacks, depending on how you count them, is Nosk jumping up into the ceiling and spitting goop down at you for about 8 seconds. Most speedrun categories that reach Nosk and elect to fight it have wings or a spell that casts upwards, both of which enable the knight to hit Nosk in the ceiling. We have neither of those, so when Nosk chooses to go into the ceiling, it is simply time loss that cannot be mitigated in any way.
Yep, so we often count our Nosks by how many times Nosk goes into the ceiling. Nosk doesn't need to go into the ceiling at all. You can get a 0 ceiling Nosk, and that is wonderful and joyous. Or a Nosk can decide to go into the ceiling upwards of 5 times. So it can be very frustrating. And it is easily the biggest single point of RNG in this run. So hopefully we get a little bit lucky with it. So the idea with Nosk that we're going to be using as we do this fight is with Shade Soul we can get double hits, and if Nosk is standing still, then it's a good opportunity to use a Descending Dark. As you can see, there's the ceiling attack that we absolutely hate.
One ceiling, but I was very close to death there.
Oh no. So a full another ceiling. I hate it. A full damage Descending Dark deals 88 damage if you can hit all the different parts of the D-Dark hitbox. Okay, that was a very slow Nosk, but it's okay. A double hit with Shade Soul is 80 damage, so they're pretty comparable. But if Nosk goes into the ceiling, then that's 0 damage until Nosk decides to leave. All right, I think I've narrowed the gap a little bit, Quack, but not by much.
I think you getting that second ceiling was a breath of fresh air for me, because my Nosk fight was not great.
Alrighty. So before we leave Deep Nest, we actually need a way to do it. And the way that we're going to be leaving here is by tram. So we're going to go pick up the tram pass and one grub along the way, but this will be our primary Deep Nest exit plan, and kind of lead us pretty conveniently over to where we need to go next, which is to go pick up our wings. I just got a huge spike of lag and missed my wall jump, but that's okay. Wings are also, strictly speaking, not necessary for this category. Nothing we do requires wings. It just makes things a lot faster because it allows us to save some grubs, get the easier access to the crown ore, and speed up movement when we're heading up to the Colosseum of Fools.
Yeah, and even all of that taken together would not necessarily be worth it. However, the Dream Boss version of Broken Vessel, who guards wings, the Lostkin, is also a boss that single-handedly satisfies our essence requirement for the Pale Aura essence. So taken all together, it's a very efficient way to do a lot of things in the run, so wings were routed in.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I think the early versions of this route didn't pick up wings, and then we realized the error of our ways.
I mean, this is one of the categories with probably the highest number of alternate routes of any Hollow Knight category, with like the possible exception of any percent and 112%. Like, this category gets rerouted every year at Pride Month without fail, because we are dedicated to our craft.
Yes, we rerouted this category in January to put Nail 1 into the route, and surprisingly we haven't rerouted since then, but you know, it's just waiting. I was trying to reroute it for Quack before the run to confuse her as much as I could, but unfortunately she wasn't biting and is running the old route. You hate to see it.
I mean, you say that like I didn't play around with an alternate route in the days leading up to this that fights Collector. It's a whole time. We don't need to get into the specifics. Just throw a dart at a dartboard 31 times and choose your grubs that way, and it's probably a route of Happy Couple that someone has run before.
Absolutely. At least as long as you group the collector grubs. I would like to see a route that gets the second but not the first or third collector grubs, but I don't think it's existed yet.
Alright, I have learned from my mistakes, so I am healing in Maulurks.
Love to see it, giving me a slight chance. I'm about to enter Maulurks. This area here is the area leading up to Broken Vessel, and it is filled with enemies that at first glance may appear to be pure RNG. Actually, almost all of these have consistent ways to dodge the attacks. There are a couple of spots where that is not true. But for example, that pogo and dash there is completely consistent. This here is where I could get hit by RNG, and then this next Maulurk I'm coming up against is actually 100% consistent. Except I don't know what the consistent strat is, so I get hit there every time. And for me, that's still consistent, so we take it. All right, and we got the first try trans dash, so everybody's...
Did I. Hey.
Let's go. Yeah, if you don't know what that is, we call that a trans dash. The idea is you dash into a wall and you jump before you're done with the dash. What that does is transfer some of your momentum from a dash into the wall to movement away from the wall.
And that was a mildly contentious naming process because there are all sorts of, wall-based text in this and many other games, but ultimately it came down to the simple fact of the matter that trans rights, baby!
Absolutely. All right, so that was Broken Vessel. Broken Vessel is a pretty quick fight with the amount of damage that we have, but can be a little bit of a shame if things start to go wrong. I do have a kind of absurd amount of soul here to start the Lostkin fight, which I am pretty happy about. But Lostkin is the much harder version of Broken Vessel in your casual playthrough. However, our strats in the speedrun actually help us quite a lot because Lostkin has a combo stagger count of 7, meaning if you get 7 hits in quick succession, then Lostkin staggers. 7 is not a lot of hits, and actually D-Dark alone can count for 3 of those hits. So there's a bit of a stun lock that we can try to achieve on Lostkin as long as we have the soul to accomplish it. The ads that spawn during the fight can complicate things, but we'll see what we can do. Are we about a Lostkin apart, Quack? Have you done the fight yet, or
I am
are
still
you
in the Lostkin fight.
Okay. So less than a Lostkin apart, at least. Unfortunate freeze frames there. So you can see my strat here is to pogo Lostkin and then go into a D-Dark. If Lostkin behaves, then that will account for 4 of the necessary 7 hits. If Lostkin moves out of the way slightly, it can only count for 3, something like that, but that's okay. All right, and now at the end of the Lostkin fight, we actually want to intentionally die because it will spawn us outside a little bit faster. We still get credit for the Lostkin kill, but we are able to death warp out and save about a 10-second death animation.
Yeah, I failed the death warp, which also, when you death warp out, your health is reset to full, but I was at 1 HP and did not get the death warp, so I took a safety heal afterwards, because there's only one grub we rescue before a save quit out, but a death there sucks.
Yeah, death there is really, really rough.
So I would say you have caught up appreciably in that moment.
Probably. I just quit out, so we're loading back in, and I am remembering to go to the base and pale ore, something which I always do.
I was about to say, I was going to make a joke about Little Full Split, but that felt a little too mean.
Yeah, I was doing a warm-up run before this, and I literally forgot to go pick up the base and pale ore. The problem is that we actually quit out of this, much like we quit out of the previous grub, and when we quit out, we spawn in at the same bench. So sometimes if you're not paying attention, you can accidentally skip a pretty important segment of the run. Because believe it or not,
one of the
getting all the pale ore is kind of important in this run. All right, but now it's the little full split time. This split is very hectic, but it's a lot of pretty fun movement. The main problems are every single enemy in the game that is in the way. There's bees from the hive, there's boo flies that have random spawn positions, there's the little hoppers that can get stuck in the floor if your FPS is high enough, there's whorps, which are basically completely random and hate us, and then there's primal aspids, everyone's favorite enemy in Hollow Knight. So we're going to do our best to avoid every single one of those enemies, but some of them will probably not give us a chance. So we will see how things go.
Narrowly dodging the whorp allegations.
Yeah, these whorps can be one of the more frustrating sources of RNG here, because if they're in your way, like they are there, I can't C-dash out. Otherwise, I'll get hit out of it and activate the whorp. So instead, I had to just dash out, and it's about a second of time loss. Not the biggest deal, but, enough to be mad about. We also have to do 2 consecutive acid skips here, 1 in and 1 out of picking up this grub. Both these acid skips are relatively lenient, but they are particularly punishing because if we miss them, the respawn points are atrocious. Luckily, I got through them first try both times, but the bees did get in my way as much as they could.
Yeah, I always take the safer Crystal Dash acid skip on the way out, just because it is very easy to get hit for a lot of damage in succession while doing those acid skips.
Absolutely. And we are going to be saving a few grubs. You already saw us save a couple on the way out of the tram. There's another one that we save here behind this hidden wall. But now we are going to continue on up and go to the Colosseum of Fools.
And this is the nice, shiny movement. You're just climbing a lot of nice things.
Yep. Yeah, this movement is pretty fun once you get it down. But like I said, it can be very hectic, especially at the beginning, because all these enemies can be very problematic, can just be in your way when you're not used to it. And some of these walls can also be a little bit annoying. We do carry this health into the Colosseum, but luckily Kalo takes a while to start, so we can heal if needed at the very start of Kalo, and that makes it a little bit less bad. My C dash will go.
If I can sneak just one quick donation in before you start the Colosseum.
Absolutely.
We have $10 from Not Murph saying, donating $5 per Nailsmith death that should be in this race. Good luck, Quack and Math. Go achieve that purity. And that has put us $10 closer to the hard difficulty in Trifox as well.
Beautiful. I need the happy couple enjoyers to step up here. We're getting a lot of purity donations lately, I'm seeing. But yeah, anyway, we're here in Kalo. Kalo is... okay, that one apparently didn't get hit at all. That's okay. Kalo is a series of regular enemy waves, but it is very, very fast-paced and can be a little bit tricky. A lot of what we do here in these Kalos is going to be about soul management. The vast majority of our damage is coming from spells, from either... Shade Soul, as you're seeing a lot of, or Descending Dark, which also deals quite a lot of damage. So in order to manage Soul effectively, we are also spending quite a lot of time shooting or hitting enemies or dream nailing enemies as they spawn in, and really conserving where we're going to be using our spells most effectively. They're a lot of fun. Kalos can be very hard casually if you're not too used to these enemies yet, the waves can get a bit overwhelming, and in this run we are doing them with very little equipment, relatively speaking. We have only 5 health and we have Nail 1, but the spells really do carry us through, as you can see here. Unfortunately a bit early on some of these Dream Nails. How's your call going?
My call is going medium, I think. And also generally knowing what you can double hit with Shade Soul, what you can't double hit with Shade Soul, and how to improvise when you miss double hits with Shade Soul is a lot of like the math of Kalos.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, I had a really bad exploding Gruzzers. It was medium otherwise.
Did you just wrap up, Colin?
I just got the Gruz kill.
Gotcha.
This is where math pulls ahead.
We'll see. I just killed Gruzzes as well, so we're pretty close.
Math, the Colosseum expert, was hoping to bank a little bit more of a lead by now, but unfortunately the Lostkin fight was super scary for me.
Yeah, Colos are a lot of fun, but they're also quite volatile. Colo 2 especially. So Colosseum 1 is relatively consistent. There's no real RNG in terms of where things are spawning or how they're behaving. Colo 2 is a completely different story. There's 2 different phases which are very highly RNG, and it can be pretty tricky to deal with. Got a double on that one. That was good. The first few phases, luckily, are still pretty... Oh, miscounted. Are still pretty consistent, but especially the obel phase toward the end, where a bunch of battle obels spawn in, believe me, you'll see it soon, can be very, very RNG, and they can absolutely troll you a little bit. The other one is the Infected Gruzzer stage, which is coming up relatively soon here. This little platform stage coming up. We have a couple of enemies that spawn in and are quite consistent, and then we have these Infected Gruzzers. Now, these spawn in at the same location every time, but then they move randomly. And their movement can mean a great pattern or a terrible one. And this one is a pretty bad pattern. I
got very bailed out where the Gruzzer that dodged several Shade Souls was kind enough to die to the explosion of another Gruzzer for me. So I got bailed in that platforms phase. There also you see the Bellfly wave. We do not know fear as speedrunners, so it is possible to just trigger the explosion and the death of the Bellfly without actually damaging the knight in the process. And it's also fast to do so.
Absolutely. It's definitely a little bit scary when you're getting started, but over time you get used to it and it's not too bad. After that, we have a couple of hoppers, and then it goes into great hoppers. These great hoppers can be a little bit tricky as well, but if you know your damage values, it's not too bad. They die in a full D-Dark, a Shade Soul, and 3 Nail Swings with Nail 1, and it's a pretty clean rotation there. That unfortunately is not our next grub. That is a Mimic, which is an enemy that looks like a grub, but is actually an enemy.
Kala 2 also briefly introduces us to a mechanic paid off in much more horrifying fashion in Kala 3, and that is these floorless sections where the floor becomes spikes and you are tested on your ability to fight with wall jumps and, in our case as well, wings.
Yep, these sections can be tricky, especially if you're not used to them yet. Colo 2 is really not too bad compared to the final Colosseum, which has an extensive floorless section that is the bane of many a casual playthrough.
Yeah, it's not great. And then it's RNG City. These obels have a silly amount of health.
Yes, they take 8 Nail Swings with Nail 1, or 4 and a Shade Soul, or a Shade Soul double. So you can start to see where things can get a little bit RNG, a little bit frustrating. I am going to take some time to heal because we really don't want to die. So obels, as you can hear, Quack, are treating me super well. Oops.
I'm also having some problems here, it's fine.
Okay, we're healing again.
Oh, come on, friend. And the reward for getting through the obble phases is 2 giant, souped-up, bullet hell mini-game starting oblobbles.
Yep, and these oblobbles can be a pretty difficult boss when you are learning the run or learning the Second Colosseum in general. But especially when you have as low damage and as little health as we do in this run, it can be very frustrating. But we got through that pretty cleanly. All right, this was a terrible call issue, Quack, so you probably are well ahead of me now.
I don't know about well. I also had a really rough obbles phase, but we are through and out of it, and with more than 1 health, which is a very good thing, because while the odds that you die in this next segment are low, they are certainly not 0.
Yeah, far from 0.
Well, I have had a couple more donations. This time for the happy couple. $10 from
What,
Chan
Tim?
saying, sending some love for the happy couple. Hopefully they can buy a nicer wedding present. Thank you for that, Chan. And we have $10 from Peach Doxy, who says, happy couple, Mathul hype, Mathul pride. Thank you for that $10. And we have $50 from Arts Freak.
Hey.
Good luck, Quack and Math, but especially Math. Got a root for gay arts and crafts. And they've put their $50 to the Rig Colors incentive for Stonefly with the option Trans Rights.
Heck
Thank you
yeah.
very much for that
Let's
donation.
go. You'd love to see it. Thank you all for your happy couple donations.
Yeah, I was about to say, so I ran this as like a community bid war in some marathons in the past, and without fail, Happy Couple is perhaps understandably far and away the more popular option, so I'm very grateful for all the purity hype that we've had going on today, but thank you so much for all your donations, regardless of which side of this race you are supporting.
Absolutely.
Alright, now I get to make up some time back up on math because it's a mashing split. We're gonna talk to the seer and get our rewards for the essence we collected from Lost Kin. We have to mash through some rewards that don't matter, and then at 300 essence, she gives us a pale ore. And then we got a little bit of grub cleanup, as well as finally the long-awaited return to Crystal Peak, which is sort of the movement climax of the run, because the movement up to Crown is very satisfying when it goes right.
Yeah, Crown I think is my favorite split in this run. It's very, very fun. The movement there is just very satisfying, and yeah, definitely a treat in this run. But yes, green path first. We do have a couple more grubs to save here. We did, we obviously were here in green path early on in the run. We did have the opportunity to go save them then. However, it's much, much faster to come back here with wings, with dash, with crystal heart, and you'll see why pretty soon. The extra movement abilities really make this grub collection a little bit faster, and it's worth it to just come back at this stage rather than doing it when we first come through here.
Yeah, it's worth noting if we couldn't fireball skip, the dev intended sort of path around through green path does take us very close to these grubs, but we don't have the time for intended green path.
Yep. Unfortunately not. So instead, we go saving these grubs here. This is the really only reason that the Purity run actually picks up Green Path Stag at all. You'll see me coming back here one more time in a couple of minutes, because on the Happy Couple side, we are not done yet. Oh, hello. I almost quit out before saving the grub. We are doing great.
That would be a little unfortunate.
Just ever so slightly.
You really hate to get to the Grubfather rewards screen and then find yourself to be a grub short after sitting through 30 reward tosses.
Yeah, that is the actual nightmare. Luckily, I did catch it in time. All right, so we are going to be re-entering Crystal Peak in a bit of a unconventional way. With Wings and Crystal Heart, you can actually go this way, which Quack has probably just finished doing, which is a bit of a skip in. So up here is the elevator that you would normally have to open to enter Crystal Peak via this entrance, but we did not open that. Instead, we simply use Wings and Crystal Heart to skip up here. This is one of the main places that Crystal Heart saves a lot of, that Wings saves a lot of time in this category, because we're able to do that instead of having to go from the inside of Crystal Peak.
Yep, and here you see me picking up another relic. It is the geo routing in this category is curious. Like Math has mentioned, we get most of our geo from grubs and from the Colosseum rewards. And we also get forced to take 2 relics anyway, one from the Seer that I mashed through, and we'll get one from grubs that loses no time to pick up. However, that's just barely short, so it was found that rather than picking up a 3rd seal or small value relic, we can pick up a 3rd relic in the form of a King's Idol, which is almost twice as valuable, and that lets us skip selling 1 relic.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. We get handed a relic that we end up not using at all because it's better to simply use that King's Idol instead.
Okay, Crystal Hunter really tried to be out of range for the pogo there.
Yeah, that Crystal Hunter actually can be out of range if you're very unlucky. That did happen to me a few times in practice. We'll see if we get luckier this time. It did its best, but we were still able to get it. All right, and this room here is probably the most fun room in the entire segment. This is the climb up to Crown, and when things go right, it feels absolutely fantastic, and when they don't, it feels a little bit bad, but...
yeah, I always get super duper scared by Crown movement. And I did not bench in Dirtmouth, so that's fun.
Cool. That's a little bit of a chance to catch up. All right, I just picked up the ore, so we'll see. I think you'll still be a bit faster than me to Grubfather.
This is we did it for content. It looks like we'll be neck and neck coming into the gloating split here. Time to see how well your computer actually loads while you're streaming, Math.
Yeah, let me know when you enter the...
Just entered, got bad Gruz RNG.
Ooh, okay. So I'm about to C-dash in, we'll see. Good RNG. Okay, so I've just entered. So that's what? 7 or 8 seconds, maybe?
I was going to say a grub toss behind.
Yeah, we're a Nosk ceiling behind. That is actually really... So now it's very tight. This will be interesting.
I got my timer ready to go here.
Maybe a 0 bounce final grub reward can save me. A couple of baller spits difference, also true. I did get 9 spins. No, I'll blame it on my Call 2. It was like it was an over 5-minute Call 2. It was not great, but that's okay. All right, so this is just the waiting split. We're actually just sitting here while Grub Dad throws 31 consecutive rewards. This cannot be skipped in any way that is currently known. And we do actually need all of this money because we are going to be using it to purchase our nail upgrades.
So yeah, if there are any final donations or messages for the run, now would be a great time for them.
Fantastic. I was just about to ask. No new donations, but as a reminder to everyone watching, if you're really enjoying the Indiethon experience and want to rep the Indiethon colours, the Indiethon merch store is here. We have partnered with speedrun.shop to bring you the finest Indiethon merch anywhere around. We have cool shirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. All profits made during Indiethon Spring 2023 will be donated towards Little Warriors. Visit www.speedrun.shop to browse all our merch offerings. Don't delay, merch is only a couple of clicks away.
Thank you for that read. Here we are on the final movement split for Quack, and not quite the final movement split for me. I just realized you probably don't bench in Kings, do you?
I do not.
Okay. So that's like, probably about 30 seconds or so.
It's probably like
saving.
a minute and a half time difference, TBH. No, I get it. I see what's going on. I was going to comment earlier, Math revealing the difference in our Coliseum skill levels by describing a 5-0x Colo 2 as a pretty bad Colo 2, and I think I've had maybe 2 of those lifetimes since coming back to this category with the new route.
Listen, Quack, my gold is like a 447 or something.
That scares me. Seasoned Coliseum runner.
Colo is the only part of this run that's actually fun to practice in my mind. Sorry, Con. Little Fool only gets you so far, but no, Colos are always good. All right, so you saw there, as I was selling to Lem, we intentionally do not sell the last relic, and actually that is a bit of time save. First of all, not from just not selling it, but actually Lem has an extra dialogue box when you're out of relics to sell. So having that extra relic is just ever so slightly a bit of time save. So it isn't worth it to not pick it up while we're waiting for grubs, which we could do. It's actually better to still pick it up.
All right, and with that, I have upgraded to Nail 4, and so you can see the timer on my phone here that is counting up to 1 minute and 40 seconds, or about 100 seconds, to represent the real-time difference between my and Math's speedrun. You see here the Nailsmith sitting at the edge of a cliff, gazing wistfully into the distance, his life's work fully complete, his only wish that he tells you, we run on Chinese, by the way, because it's fastest. We never said that at the beginning of the run. His one wish for you to strike him down with the ultimate weapon that he himself designed and built. It is optimal in the speedrun, in the Purity speedrun, to actually shoot a fireball from the distance that I'm standing at right now instead. But out of respect for the Nailsmith and the fact that I have a minute to kill, I'm going to go ahead and actually fulfill his last wish, even though my PB in this category simply exits the hut and fireballs him instantly. Math, how you doing in Green Path there?
Well, we're in the Green Path of Pain here. This is the final platforming segment, and Shio really tries to make it hard to get there in time to save him. So we're doing our best. We're gonna see. We're close. We're almost at Shio. What's on the timer, Quack?
I'm showing 15 seconds left.
15 seconds. Here we go. How are these loads? We're at Shio. Let's get Great Slash. I think
10,
we're not quite gonna make it.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Shio,
1.
you take too long.
Time.
Shio unfortunately needs to give us Great Slash before we can actually finish the run. But here is the final ending. Of course, it's the bad RNG. You talk to the Nailsmith, and that's time for me. All right, GG's Quack.
I think
that was a good run.
Astoundingly enough, I think I got the exact same loadless time that I got when I last ran Happy Couple at a marathon. So shout outs to consistency, I suppose.
Amazing.
But yeah, thanks so much to Indiethon for having us and letting us meme around with y'all. Shout outs to the myriad Hollow Knight category extensions, both on and off the official speedrun leaderboards, represented here by Happy Couple, which is official, and Purity, which you have to want to be a villain to run. And yeah, thanks so much to Matt for agreeing to race me at this nonsense as well.
Yes, and thank you, Quack. Also, just take a look at the scene that is above me here and tell me that you would rather run the category that kills this poor man instead of allowing him to find his true love.
He had one request, one wish.
Look at it. Look how blissful he is. Look how happy he is here. No, but this was a lot of fun. Thank you to the event organizers. Thank you to Quack for running this. This was wonderful.
And thank you to you both for that fantastic race. It was an absolute joy to watch, absolute joy to be a part of. Really a fantastic race, down to the last second. We do have one last donation before we finish up. $79 from Anonymous. An early G-Gay for happy couple. And with that, we'll head off to an intermission, ready to prepare for our next run. Do stick around.